How do you know you live in space? Do you have a flat stomach? The ability to live without eating? The need to drink enormous amount of water or soft drink or whatever? The craving for proteins and pure proteins only, no fries? Dizziness, sentiment of variable gravity feelings. When you walk on the sidewalk, do you get dragged right or left by objects in the streets? Do you take 2 hours to take off your shirt, your vest, your hat when you come back home after 70 hours roaming outside? Do you live outside? Do you have on your vest all the equipment you need for all you need to do at any moment? Do you check every pocket that they are closed, that the zip is well closed all the time, so that even if you're suspended by the feet, you wouldn't lose anything? Do you have this use of your phone when you connect the gyroscope, when you want to hide your azimuth, and you disconnect it when you want to be free? Do you have this use of the phone where you use the plane mode when you're not taking a plane? And for what purpose? What do you need to cut off your phone? What do you need to take the stairs instead of the elevators when you're going down, and the elevators only when you're coming up? What logics? All these specialized, thoughtful micro actions, what do they mean if it's not the exact symmetric measure you would take if you were in space? Do you have the feeling your outfit is your space combination? This is exactly what we feel. Do you have special tea at all? Etc. All these questions you have to answer and explain and show and etc. If you have all these feelings, you could be checked for Alzheimer, Parkinson's, and so on, for brain cancer, for a liver cancer, for something. If you do not have any medical cause for the dizziness, the feeling of variable gravity, when you make a video explaining the mechanisms of such or such corrupted political actor, and then if you propel it through a social network towards the person or justice or third person, etc., you feel the weight of the file on your physical ability to remain awakened. For instance, you can have an intense, immediate fatigue lasting certainly someone important reads the file at this moment. Someone in the judicial system reads the file, judge, instruction judge, the prosecutor, and you. The other day, when we, for the first time, got integrated officially into the judicial system, and we had known it on the spot, we had difficulty to breathe for the entire walk back home. And we figured out why. What would an integration to the judiciary system mean for us? It would mean the disappearance of the environment we breathe in. Justice is not a sojourn. It is a sharp razor, or it should be. If your justice is only a sojourn, a lifetime sojourn on a Supreme Court, for instance, you can be sure it's not justice, because you'll never be able to be sharp enough to cut when you need to. And so this is how the Scotus is now preparing the way for a tyrant. Donald Trump, if he's re-elected, Donald Trump has cheated by. He has been very lucky with the death of all these judges, hasn't he? So it reminds of, for instance, murders with invisible, impossible to detect substances like digitalin, for instance. Are we certain these judges are all dead of natural death? Donald Trump, as a mafioso, has a wide range of phone numbers of hitmen, of his, of others. While he was president, he certainly couldn't use this resource. But if he's president again, he also knows now how to hide this resource of his inside. How could he better make understand the American people the stakes are not low on their future, on their children's future, on their grandchildren's future, on their great-grandchildren's future? We don't insist on who he is, what he does, what he did, all the filth, the women, the drugs, etc. We insist on the fact his new presidency will precipitate the world into a third world war. This is also the reason why Vladimir Putin changed his mind. Vladimir Putin does not want a World War because he knows he already lost this one and his army is defeated, is virtually demilitarized. Putin now. And so if he rejects Trump and vouches suddenly for Kamala Harris, when we demonstrate justice is a question of human matters later in life, in the afterlife as well. And we don't have to go very far to find an entire tradition of India to attest, to testify about the fact that karma is not a gift, it's not an option, it's the root of reality. So the USA must know, but the problem with the USA knowing is that are they still in the condition to know anything new? And it appears the American people themselves will remain relatively incapable of integrating new knowledge in the given short-time future, because it takes 20 years to form a generation. And so one could say, maybe these people are not so bad, and we're going to catch up with a few, and it's going to be fine. The hard reality we found is most human beings are not capable of constantly maintaining reason as we do, or try, or effort to, despite the fact sometimes we confuse a notion with another, and a figure order with another order, and so on. A few mistakes when we listen to some of these videos, sometimes we find mistakes. And they are not voluntary mistakes. They are mistakes destined to lure, to cheat. And what is Donald Trump except this big cheat? Cheat with women, cheat with money, with casinos, cheat with the IRS, the cheat with New York, the cheat. And this is the man half of the Americans would want as a president. This America is doomed to failure from the beginning because of this man. We express it on and on for quite some days, and we don't see a rebound of reason in the USA at all. And the polls tend to indicate the party is about to begin for Donald Trump. When we received the positive news of a green card waiting for us in 2013, we had moved to a much bigger apartment. François Hollande was beginning, and it was the Socialist Party, so we thought we would never make it through the medical examination, given our state of mind at the time and our condition. So we just replied we wouldn't come and search for this paper and everything that came with it. From there on, we disappeared. We left. We ceased to compete in the idea of literature. We ceased to communicate. We led some information campaign on musical fanzines to help famous brands understand their commercial practices were disloyal to good customers. This made a decade of influence in the musical industry, software and hardware. And when Barack Obama was re-elected, we were not there. He was in charge, so he was responsible, he was good. There was no need for us to come back. When we contacted Barack Obama's bureau, when he was a senator in 2007 or 06 or 07, after having watched a TV reportage showing him a new candidacy. What did we do? After having found all this very good, we wrote to him, to his bureau. We found the address on his site, or the site of the Congress, that he would be an ex-president, and that his message would be heard, or maybe it will be confused with the message we sent right after he got elected. His message would be heard to the farthest village. In 2013, this had been largely done and done and done. Everything was fine, and we discover 10 years after, when we watch a few of Barack Obama's interventions at the end of his second term, and we see the immense sadness they were living, certainly, and we cannot not think of the fact we disappeared when we saw it was not working. We considered it was not worth continuing. So in the hospital chamber in 2010, after having written this letter to Claude Lanzmann alerting about the Roms situation in France, the situation of the Romanian Roms population, perpetually aggressed by police, shoving them into buses back into Romania, because Europe didn't want the Schengen Accords to be for Romania, Bulgaria, and all these countries sending us good people, but we cannot integrate because we don't understand anything at all anymore. In France, neither. People have become not intelligent enough to retain the notion when someone speaks, it might mean something. Before we got tossed out of our Discord network this evening, the last demand was, could you not make sense? Could you stop making sense? Or wasn't it on Joe Biden's tweet? No, I don't, well, maybe. Anyway, the comment is clear that you stop making sense of everything because we can't handle it. And you know you live in space when you conceive absolutely no bother at all of the fuss you make on Earth. And you know it's true when you see day after day nothing is coming from the authorities. The police cannot come to this door anymore, and so on. So the USA helped Europe 80 years ago to get out of a really bad situation. And now that Europe has become an integrated power, Europe, which suffered and fought to destroy the possibility remaining to be a terrorist, and France allied to a post-imperial Japan, which Prime Minister specifically insisted on writing he will not be a shortcut for anyone to anything. Read, it's gonna be really hard because we are this hard with following policies for repression, expropriating the poor. Anyway, we don't extrapolate. We haven't investigated enough in China for this. Know that you live in space. Take a few nights out of sleep working on this solution. How do you get out of nowhere? If we find, you live in space when you find extreme difficulties addressing in successful verbal exchange. All this and so much more. And you wait for the order of the president, for the two men at the back of this van to get out to hit me. At this hour of the night. In the virtual chamber when I placed these events so that the offset could be forever for good. Okay, you did this. You will not regret it. We are approaching the end of our physical life. We feel it in our chest. The breath is receding. There is no anxiety, no worry, no fear, no certainty. If it's a heart attack, we know how to pump it back on. We won't fall asleep in the street. It's not possible. We do not have this illness that allows to fall asleep walking and to fall. We don't have this. We remain conscious to the last minute. We have to talk about this quick because we don't know if we can recuperate the fine video we shot and couldn't end well about the experiment we started this morning, realizing if we didn't do it now, chances for it to succeed later would be much fainter. Without telling anyone, yesterday we plugged in the toslink of the CD player to the front of the TV screen, and it ran the entire day smoothly. And in the evening we had the idea to add the noise, the sound of the cassettes we recorded back in the 1990s with all this strange sound and the antenna. And we die for a normal person to tell us it's okay. At the level we are figuring out, we are experiencing life right now, given the profession we embraced, by resigning, which means entering the clandestine realm of this activity, to the clandestine, a clandestine, showing his head as a clandestine in plain sight. There is not a place in the world we would be ever in danger by anyone. Do you understand this? Except for the 400,000 security forces in France, who received not the order to kill me, and who will do all they can to take revenge onto this, to manage to do it good. Nevertheless, the simple fact that this hour of the night we are still not at rest with these questions universally signs the guilt of Emmanuel Macron to have projected a true homicide.